Hey, this is Augie, Augie's Locker Room. When you come to the store, you're going to see things that you've probably never seen before unless you've been to a museum. Great items that go back to the Rockney era to the present. Website, augieslockerroom.com. Visit us here or the website.
Tim O'Malley with Tim Priester after speaking with wide receivers coach Chansi Stuckey and also all of the healthy scholarship wide receivers except for Tobias Merriweather, so you can figure that out on your own. But I thought we got some good insight from Coach Stuckey, who does not mind his time with the media.
No, he said he enjoyed it when he wrapped it up. That's you don't hear that very often. It's a difficult situation, and naturally he weighed in on Avery Davis and so did all the other receivers, in terms of just how devastated they are for that. But you got to pick up the pieces. There are no excuses. You move forward. I spoke to Jaden Thomas, and, he's done a really good job. We saw him do some good stuff in the red zone. And the thing that Chansi Stuckey had said about him in the spring was that he wants to do everything as a receiver physically, but he doesn't trust his speed all the time. So he's doing a better job of that. But I think Jaden Thomas is a guy, we saw it in the first practice where he was effective in the red zone. I think he's 6'1.5", 215, does a good job of using his body. I think he's a guy that you can look to when they get down in the red zone.
And I asked Stuckey about what seems like the improbable return of Joe Wilkins, but he said, no, you know what? He had that injury as well, Liz Frank, and he thought there's an outside chance to get back, but he's still very impressed, and he can tell that Wilkins will be returning to practice soon. Because all of a sudden he's a little bit more attentive in meetings. He got a fresh new haircut. Got a haircut to be involved. But it sounds like Wilkins will be coming back maybe next week to practice. But then there was some clarification. You asked him what can he do, and it's not like you hit practice and you just hit the ground running immediately.
Well, he needs contact, and I think you need at least a week of contact. If he comes back next week, he has a week of contact, and then game week, which really isn't enough. Right. So we'll see what he can do. But he also, Chansi Stuckey talked about Tobias Merriweather. And he's in it, Yeah. He's a guy with really very good to great speed, but he's also 200 pounds, and that he's kind of a combination speed guy with a little bit of size for being a freshman.
And he said he held his weight well. I know I kind of made the offhanded comment that I didn't think he could hold his weight well in camp when you come and kind of bulk up to get to 200 pounds. But I asked Lorenzo Stiles, like a guy like Merriweather, if he has a couple bad days, you got to get him through it, because he's a freshman that absolutely has to play. And I asked Lindsay about it. He said, normally would have 10 receivers. So when the starters come off and the twos go on, Lindsay can go talk to the threes, or however it is. If the threes come off and the twos come on, there's no time to talk to Merriweather because he's on the field. So they said the one issue is there's less on-field coaching from the receivers because they're in and out so fast. Right. They just don't have as many. But Stiles made a good point about Merriweather. This has been install. That's going to stop after this week, and you can start getting some repetition and really improve as a player.
You find a little bit of comfort zone. Yeah. I think anybody that's been an athlete, when you can find that comfort zone, you can cut it loose and you can play. Stuckey made a comment about Braden Lindsay that I don't think any of us ever expected to hear. He called him one of the 3 hardest working players on the entire team. That's a hell of a statement for Braden Lindsay.
It is, because Lindsay's a guy that I think he has even been open about it. He had to learn how to work when he got here. He had to fight through injuries. When your third year, junior year is kind of a washout, that's when people start writing you off. But he's looking to rewrite his script really going forward here for his 5th season.
Well, you can tell that he's stronger. They need him to be a leader. That, to me, to hear that news, that is huge for a receiving corps that obviously is very shorthanded. And speaking of being shorthanded, we've had opportunities to speak with Matt Salerno, and he's in the mix, man. He's got to play. He's not a guy that's going to run deep outs and intricate routes and crossing routes and things like that. He's a guy that's going to line up in the slot, generally speaking, and catch a ball almost, literally or similarly to coming out of the backfield. He's capable of doing that. I asked him, if he spent much time talking to a guy like Chris Fink, and their careers overlapped a little bit. He was very young, and he said, he picked his brain, and you have to know your role, and that was something that Stuckey said. Play your role, Matt Salerno, and you can help us.
Well, thanks to Coach Stuckey. We have a couple days of wide receiver stories coming up on Irish Illustrated. We'll be back here Wednesday for running backs and Dalen McCullough at irishillustrated.com.